Everyman.
Everyman.
Here we are, Everyman Podcast. So we had ourselves a good old-fashioned Everyman field trip down to the Tower Theater this past weekend to see Dream Theater.
Yes, we did. And
this was, to say it was an experience would be an understatement. We set up ahead of time. So when we had John Petrucci on the show, we talked offline about doing some more interviews together because we felt like it was a great fit and we would get some good stuff together.
Mm-hmm.
So I reached out and coordinated an interview with Mike Mangini. So reached out to their tour manager, got us hooked up, and we were on the Dream Theater tour bus.
Excellent bus, by the way.
It was luxurious. I mean, I've been on a few tour buses, and this was definitely the nicest. They had big old TVs. They had Gatorade G2.
Yeah, baby.
G2 on top of G2. It was amazing.
Electrolytes.
Well, can you imagine how much, like, now that you've seen them play, like, you imagine how dehydrated they must be after a show?
Without question. I mean, they need G2. They need it. Like, it's not a game. Like,
yeah. They do. It's like you're going to have to go to the hospital if you don't get this in you. So
let's intravenously put G2 into you while you play so you can get out every last bit of DT in that session. It's crazy.
Every note needs a little bit of electrolyte. And I'm sure Mr. Mangini, the master of time,
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure he could tell us exactly how many G2s he needs to replenish after a certain amount of time. I'm convinced of it.
I'm right there with you, brother Jay.
So we're hanging out on the tour bus, and we were there early in the afternoon, so we had a certain amount of time to work with leading up to their sound check. And obviously, sound check is like akin to a walkthrough for a football team or a dress rehearsal for play. It's very important. And it cannot be messed with. So we had a short amount of time, and then on top of that, we were on the tour bus. And if you've ever been on a tour bus, to keep all those fancy things going, they have generators that make a lot of noise. So the state-of-the-art Everyman Podcast recording equipment is so highly tuned and sensitive that we were picking up a whole bunch of stuff that we didn't want to pick up. Yep. So combined with the short on time and the background noise, we decided to have a real in-depth conversation with Mike Mangini because we just really hit it off. So a combination of Daryl for the first time seeing Dream Theater,
yep,
hanging out with Mike, really getting a feel for him, and this was the first time I've met him, and Daryl had met him. So we didn't know anything outside of, like, you know, what we're hearing and what we're seeing. So the conversation that you're going to hear this week and then next week's episode in part 2. This is a real look at someone who just totally impressed us, and not just as a musician. Like, that doesn't even need to be said. You can hear that in this interview. But the things that impressed us most is the way he puts not only his bandmates before himself, his family before himself, his friends, his colleagues, the people that he works with and work for him. He's just an absolute definition of an everyman. And
oh my God.
I mean, Daryl, you share a little, just briefly, because I don't want to step too much on the interview. I want to get right into it. I mean, what did you take away from this experience, both seeing Dream Theater and then getting to know Mike over the weekend and talking with him for this interview?
I mean, it's hard to even put into lyric. It's hard to quantify in words. Just, you know, how impactful I think Mike Mangini is. And let's just step away from the drumming aspect of it. Let's just talk about Mike Mangini as a human being and as a man, as a father. Just, you know, just everything he embodies is positivity. Everything that he embodies is all everyman. And that's exactly what it is that this podcast is about. And just to put it into perspective, you have someone that in his preparation for a set, his preparation for a gig, his preparation for a tour, quite literally starts with praying for others' well-being. That's the start of his preparation. I mean, that's just that's the only thing I can think of that's indicative of everything that everyone should be about. You having a selfless approach to life, a selfless approach to approaching the mastery of your craft, and a selfless approach of integrating yourself with the environment that God has bestowed upon you. I get emotional thinking about it. I can't wait for you guys to check out this podcast and to just get an in-depth, just look at Mike wholesale, and you can make your own opinions after it. But I think, just speaking from me, speaking from my heart, like he is, and you'll hear this, but he's quite impressive. He's one of my most favorite newfound people on the face of the planet, and I honestly, I'm just blessed to now call him a friend and a part of I believe my circle. So you guys can just check it out. It's awesome.
Let's get right into it. All right, we're here with Mike Mangini for a two-parter on the Everyman Podcast. We spent some time together on Saturday in Philadelphia at the Tower Theater for the Dream Theater Distance Overtime Tour. And we had a great conversation on the bus. Unfortunately, we had too much background noise and we ran short on time, and we decided that we just had to do this again. So here we are. Mike Mangini, welcome to the show.
Hello, Justin. Hello, Daryl. Nice to see you guys again.
What's going on, Mike?
Nice. Things are smooth today.
That's good. It's a pleasure to see you again. So how was your drive down to DC from Philly?
100% asleep. It's the way it should be.
Yeah.
That's good. Well, we're glad you got some rest. So
I did.
To say we had a great time would be an understatement. Daryl and I, just to recap the day, Daryl and I got together and drove down to the tower. We got there around 2:45, met the what's the right word to describe Rick? He's just a powerful man. He's a general in his own right. You know,
passionate.
He's the tour manager.
He's the tour manager of Dream Theater, and he runs the show. No questions about that.
Mm-hmm.
And he took us on the bus, which was incredible, beautiful bus, decadent, I might say. And Mike was kind enough to offer us some G2 Gatorade, which made Daryl very happy.
Yes, indeed.
and we got into a little bit of everything from, what you're doing now to what you did when you were 13, to what you're looking to do in the future. So to recap a little bit here, let's just start with Dream Theater. So
yeah,
the talk of the town has really been the new Distance Over Time and the sound of the drums on the record. And when I was looking around for questions from the fans to get their ideas and perspective out there, everybody keeps talking about how happy they are with the drum sound. And when we had John on the show on episode 1, John Petrucci, we talked about it at length, and he credited a lot of it to a change in, you had some new engineers working on the record, and you mentioned that on Saturday. Also the studio itself, new mics, all this stuff. There's a lot of new gear and new process. And also, when Jamie King, when he was on the show, we also talked about it at length. And as a drummer myself, I really felt like I was getting the drummer's perspective. And when I say that, I mean a lot of people make a choice to mix the sound of the drums from an audience perspective or from the perspective of behind a drum kit. And like the Extractus EP, for example, that we did with Jamie King, I've had that as the producer, and that I had that mixed as, from the drummer's perspective, because I wanted that certain sound. So when I heard Distance Over Time, I was just immediately drawn to it because of that. So I wanted to give you an opportunity to talk about your feelings about it, the process going into it, and how you feel about the outcome.
Well, how about this? Let's just say if a player on a team has a slightly better year, 1 year, or let's say the entire DB chord, speak your language, Daryl. A lot of things can change. An offensive coordinator, a coach, a couple of players. Who knows? People change. It's a lot can change. So what changed? It really can be best explained with a timeline. The first thing is to use my common sense and say, look, a co-producer of this band was the drummer before, who had decades to hone that sound, who had say in the mix, in the mastering, in everything. So you're talking about a massive, massive change now, going from Mike being completely all over that and having the record sound like drummers hear things, which may not be everyone's cup of tea in the world. You got to understand that too. But it's certainly a drummer's cup of tea. You go from that to me having zero experience with Dream Theater and therefore zero of anything other than playing the drums, because basically my drum set has been the same on every record and I've played the same. But look at the differences, not only in Dream Theater, but in other records I'll mention. So just give me a little timeline here to outline this, because not one thing changed, a lot of things. And it's an evolution, and it shows you, John took over as sole producer, and he has evolved. And now you can see his evolution and his ability to adapt and change and produce and all these things. And guess what? Here we are again, and it's always getting better. And that's what we try to do, is progress. We are a progressive rock band. So that's the basic premise of the outline. Now here's the reality of it. The drum set used on Distance Over Time was exactly the same as a dramatic turn of events, except for the kick drums were different. The snare drum was everything. The toms, basically for the most, that was it. Everything was the same. The snare drum was an inch different. Same drums, same drummer, same everything. The other drum sets I used for Self-Titled and Astonishing were largely the same. They sounded the same. It was still me, some different tuning. But we're talking about that was constant the whole way, and John has been the same producer the whole way. So look at all the difference, though, in between. We've had some team member changes and different autonomy and things like that. But here's the crazy thing. On Distance Over Time, to be direct, I have been working with James Meslin, for years. And I've been working on my solo stuff and asking him for help, so he knows the sound that I want, that I'm getting at home, from an EQ perspective, from a where the microphones go perspective, from how do we pan it perspective, from what about the levels perspective. That's a major difference from Distance Over Time to anything else I've had to do with on any record. I mean, I have not been involved in this much on any record in my life. And so, put it this way, if you look at some different collections of people. A dramatic turn of events, you're talking like, Paul Northfield capturing, but Andy Wallace doing all the EQing, I believe, and mixing, and John producing. And I don't know what, I played the drums and I left. You got Rich Chicky coming in on the Self-Titled and the Astonishing, and capturing it, John producing. So you've got that combination. You've got now James Labrie producing with Rich Chicky engineering on Elements of Persuasion with me playing. So
great record, by the way.
Check it out, but it sounds different. You've got The Great Divide with Rich Chicky engineering and producing all by himself, and me just playing and working with him. You got just the two of us on that. You've got Jimmy T capturing the drums on Xanadu with Rich Chicky mixing it, and me just playing, and John producing overall, which sounds different. And on Distance Over Time, you've got Jimmy T and I working on all of these things I said, including that I wanted the drums on a drum riser, just like a change like that. But then you've got the whole thing being turned over to Ben Gross with full autonomy to just mix it, and John producing. So where is the change? What's the big difference? You've got a lot of variables here, but all I know is the drummer's perspective. That's because I had a lot to do with this one in that way. I did.
So
not,
really, roles.
yeah.
It's not so much a change in direction or a change in ideas. It's a change in who was doing what and how that finished product came together as a result of all these different experiences with people working together to have, to get a better idea how to accomplish what each other's trying to accomplish in a team environment.
Yes, and at the end of the day, when you speak about the drum sound and I hear about it, one thing that should be remembered is that this is me we're talking about. So if I'm the constant going through this, if I'm the one this is all about, and I'm okay with all of these different experiments and changes in this, I think everyone else should be okay too. But if they're not, what am I going to say? Same drummer, practically the same exact drums. We've got the same producer since I've joined, but different producers on these different albums too, and different combinations of the same people. So it's wild.
So it's safe to say that it's only going to improve from here, if that's even possible.
Now that's where I'm going with this. That's where I'm going with this. It's improving. It's strengthening. Everybody's learning, and you can't pin one thing,
right?
Because you got the same person from this record doing this other record that sounds completely different, with the same person on this record that's same on this other record, and it's completely different. So what do you that's it.
Did you do anything differently to warm up or practice at that point in the studio that you're doing differently on tour, or is that pretty much consistent?
That's consistent. I pretty much warm up with just getting the motions right to play, because the bulk of the day is spent doing. That's part of the Dream Theater audition. That's why those tests were so important. That's why you can't do your work at home. You can't do that. There's no time. You have to be on the spot, pattern recognition. Bam. I'm like zing right away. The ideas can't have flaws in the execution. You have to know what you're doing, and you have to execute it right. There's no time for that. You need the creativity to be there, not the ability to run a route, not the ability to strike the drum exactly on the grid or off the grid or ahead of time or behind time. You can't worry about those things or even understand what's going on. So I warm up the motions and rely on my history of practicing to get the job done.
Daryl, can you relate to that as far as football is concerned with practice and repetitions? They talk about mental reps in football when you're on the sidelines.
Well, it's funny, just coming back from broadcast boot camp, James Brown was one of the hosts that were on staff. Are you still getting some, Justin?
Just a touch.
Yeah. I don't know. This is a brand new mic I just got from the producers.
Is there
stay still?
Yeah. It seems like there's
whenever you talk, it goes away, but as soon as you stop talking, it goes.
Can you hear it? Is there anything? Everything sounds fine now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Go ahead.
I'm gonna
broadcast boot camp.
Say as stoic as possible. So James Brown would say he would tell us all in broadcast boot camp and in mirrors, just on the football field, practice makes permanent. So the more you do your reps, the more that you exercise your craft, the more that the technique becomes a part of you. So it's just as Mike's saying, you can be creative and you don't have to worry about the constraints of not knowing, because it's a part of you now. You've done it so much that it's second nature. You can execute without worrying about, like you said, hey, is it going to be a 4-inch step or a 7-inch step? Is this going to be a pirate stunt, or do I have to wait on Brian Urlacher to come in for this game that we're about to run? Like, I know where I am with relation to everybody because I've done this so much. It's routine. It's a part of me. And I have to think about it. I know all the pieces are going to be in the right place because I am centered and centralized and in the right place. So, yeah.
Now, would it also be similar, as Mike is saying, with his practice routine and warm-up routine? As a player, would you do the same? Like, would you want to be warming up during practice during the week the same way that you want to warm up, going into the game on Sunday?
Yeah, I mean, that's also a part of the muscle memory that's involved with being able to execute on Sundays. You don't have to worry about, okay, well, did I do enough to prepare me to go up against 700 pounds on a double team? 800 pounds on a double team. You know what I mean? Because if you get this, like let's just be real. When I played, my max weight was 281. So my strengths were a good first step, okay, and being able to anticipate movement before it even happens. But that also comes in understanding exactly what's going on with respect to that play in the backfield. There's different keys that are there that'll give me that edge and that extra step even more so. So I don't have to worry about, okay, well, I know these guys are going to deuce down on me, but my first step, I'm going to split it, won't even have to worry about it, and I'm tackling a guy in the backfield for a loss. So, you know what I mean? Like, these are the things that you have to make kind of, I should say, they have to be coalesced when you execute on game day, so you don't have to worry about any negative outcomes.
So you're just executing. It's just pure execution.
You can't even think of it as like it's execution, but it's just you being free. You know what I mean? It's just you being free and in the moment, present in the moment, because you've already taken care of the I should say the practicing and the execution during the week to make it permanent and make it a part of you, so you can just go out and just play your game. Like, I can go in and know, okay, well, I'm going to go step this left guard. Okay, well, he sees the recognition of me coming down inside. He's frozen. I know exactly what my 2 and my 3 moves are. Even if I do even if he gets a hand in my chest, okay, boom. All right, I'm going to come over, cheese out, woos out, and then boom, I'm coming right in, rip straight to the quarterback, and it's over. But I feel that, I see that, so I know, okay, as soon as he does this one motion, if I do get stuck, if he's able to get me, I already have a counter for it. I'm coming right, pointing the toe to the QB, and I'm getting right there. Pointing the toe into the backfield, tackle for loss. You see these things, you feel these things, you are these things, and then the results follow. That's just how it is. But like Mike says, you have to get to the point to where you practice, you make it permanent, and then it's just you having fun. Then it's just you doing what it is that you are God gifted to be able to do. That's it. If you don't practice, if you don't make it permanent, then you're going to get embarrassed on national TV. I'm telling you that right now. You're gonna get embarrassed because these like, just like I'm looking for keys, offensive linemen are looking for keys. They have player personnel departments that are looking for these same keys. They say the NFL is not for long because there is an entire department that sole job is to make sure that you're on the ball, because if you're not, they'll get somebody else who is. That's just how the game works. It's business. It's your livelihood. It's how you take care of your family. So I have to know I got to put the work in on the front end, so that on the back end I can execute and just be a beast come game day. That's just it.
That's what it is.
If I've ever seen a beast, it was the one sitting behind the drum condo at the Tower Theater on Saturday night.
Thank you.
I want to talk about some of the songs you guys played Saturday night, because this is a great opportunity to come out to everyone as a huge Dream Theater nerd, if it wasn't already evident. But I'm very passionate about Dream Theater, always have been. Especially as a young musician, when I came across that music, it was like, oh, this is speaking to me. This is what I need for my attention span as a young drummer. And you played some songs that are my favorite, some of my favorite Dream Theater songs. And obviously, Scenes from Memory was incredible to see live, and we're going to get there. But I want to talk about A Nightmare to Remember. So when that album came out, Black Clouds and Silver Linings, there was like a big to-do about the fact that there was a quote-unquote blast beat in that song. And I'm more on the heavier end of the metal, sphere. I'm not the best at the blast beats, but I understand what's going on there, and I can execute at a certain tempo that was always comfortable for me. But my music was never really looking for that. It's just a style thing. Mm-hmm. So when I heard you all night, there was 2 things I was looking for. One, is Mangini going to do the rap in that section, and also what's the blast beat going to sound like? And you played it exactly the way it should be played, and I was always disappointed. And I don't want to say disappointed because I want to think about the positives, but what I got live in the past was not what was there Saturday night. And it's a small detail that I know a lot of the Dream Theater faithful may not pick up, but I know a lot of the drummers certainly are.
Oh, there's plenty of videos of it on YouTube of me doing it. I don't know.
Yeah, but for some reason it's just not like a big deal. So I wanted to talk about like your approach to that, to playing that part, and why you executed it that way live.
Okay, what
as
I
opposed
did
to the previous live version.
Well, okay. What I did is, first of all, if you're talking about the middle part of it or the end of it,
the end, yeah,
at the very end. Oh, okay. What I did with that is I used my right hand on the snare and only my left foot for the first half, where I was in triplet mode, just like the record.
Right.
At this, which is hand foot, hand foot, hand foot, with my left hand matching the left foot. So the left side was lined up with the hi-hat in between, like the kick drum. But then halfway through, I amped up the tempo another level, and I went to eighths, going brrrr. And when I did that, that's when my hand was going, and I used both feet in between. So that should have sounded like brrrr. I don't know what it sounded like up front, but that's what I played.
Yeah, I mean the mix the mix was really good on Saturday night, and I found that it was much how do I say, the low end was a lot cleaner the second half of the set. It was great, but I could hear it, but I knew what I was listening for, so I heard it, and it was awesome to see that, and it's one of those subtle nuances of the Mike Mangini era that I think over time people will learn to appreciate.
Well, I got to play the songs. First of all, I like what's on all the old records. I like Mike's parts. Otherwise, I wouldn't be happy in the band if I wasn't. If I didn't think they were absolutely fantastic. So, and I'm in a different situation because I have to honor those and sound like those. When I play them too exactly, I've been called creepy. If I don't play them, I'm called names too. So it's a second no one situation, and whatever it is, I'm just playing them the way I want now, and I'm changing things I just feel like changing.
Right.
I can. I'm doing it. The band's happy. I'm happy. We're having an absolute blast. So when I play that, it's like it's right at album tempo, and I'm playing it as it is on the record, although I'm changing. I'm following the rhythms a little differently in the solo, whatever it is. But I played that part like that, and then I went up at that tempo for half.
An exclusive performance on the Everyman Podcast.
I didn't know if the band would like that or not, because it's not exactly.
I would love it. If that counts.
Okay.
Yeah,
right.
I would love it. I mean, because see, here's the thing, man. Here's how I knew you prior to joining Dream Theater, which is just an interesting coincidence. Mm-hmm. So we talked about this on Saturday, and then I actually followed up on the conversation yesterday. My first drum teacher, who I studied with for about 6 years, his name was Kerry Watson, and he studied under you at Berkeley. And Kerry gave me your book, your first book, that you personally instructed him out of, okay? Yeah. When I was like, I don't know, 14, 15 years old. And he taught me out of that book for years. And that put me off into a whole direction that was different than where I think I would have ended up. And then I kind of got off into learning my own things for a while. But my reason for bringing that up is I knew you as this extremely fast drummer, the world's fastest drummer, the time.
Not quite, but with one move.
Yeah, you are.
Pretty damn fast. But Annihilator, that kind of stuff. So when I was like, oh shit, we're going to get some blast beats in Dream Theater. This is going to be great. And it hasn't happened yet. So I think at some point, I hope that they call upon that tool. And to me, it sounds like nobody's, if I may, no one is telling you to do something differently. You're just playing it the way that makes the most sense. And if somebody says, hey, I don't like it, then you'll oblige. But you're really doing your thing here.
Yeah. And it's interesting. First of all, when you mentioned Kerry in the book and him giving you the book, You have volume 1 or volume 2?
I only have volume 1.
Volume. All right. So, Daryl, this volume 1 book explains the bigger picture on how we work, on how our instrument works, and on how the environments we exist in work. So it's a perspective kind of thing.
Gotcha.
And the premise of the book is that your will can change as you educate and grow, and things you come upon can change your will. So it's a big circular thing where you just grow and you grow and you grow and you grow. I boiled down anything and everything that you could really do on a drum set into some base thinking systems, into systems. And based on the understanding of systems, that allows a person like Justin can go and take a book like Stick Control, which I believe the other day you mentioned, right?
Yes.
So he can take a book like Stick Control that has lefts and rights and apply it creatively how he wants to the limb combinations he wants to the dynamic component and all of that. And it gives him that freedom. But my book kind of says, wait a minute. While you're doing that, watch your limbs and what they're doing. While you're doing that, speak to yourself. While you're doing that, understand what hits with what and what doesn't hit with what. While you're doing that, hear your timing and do all of these things that human beings do and get the mechanics right in here. Then, his work with stick control, which might be you stepping on a ladder in practice or going through tires or whatever, hitting whatever those things are, you beat the heck out of. You do those things, and then those train you. But then you apply it into your world in the game environment. And Justin can take stick control and apply it to his practice environment, and then he'll know what to take into the gig environment because it's a totally different thing. Right. Which speaking of it, just to mention that one small part in that one song is I didn't do that at the beginning of this tour. I just kind of whipped it out a few shows ago, and I actually was playing it, and John looked over at me, and then when I was finished, I just stopped playing, and the song was still going on. So I'm like, oh no, and I'm like, wee, and I got back in, and I was like, because I didn't, it wasn't planned by us. It was just something that I felt comfortable with my teammates. My teammates are unbelievable. And, when you're asking still, and I can connect this, about the evolution of the band and the changes and the drum sound and and this Distance Over Time album, we're talking about a team of people working together, giving each other some leeway, letting each other do a little bit of this, so you take that one, okay, we'll do what you want here, okay, why don't you have a turn? It's a bunch of different people helping each other, existing, and at the end of the day, that's the way to live. Even if, all right, so the right play isn't called every time, or, but I don't know, I don't play all the right things all the time, or maybe something with one of the albums didn't sit well with with one fan, but it was okay with another fan. I mean, the team is still a team, and the constant here is progress. We're still progressing, So I'm actually surprised, even through all the changes that you're stuck through, because there's been such massive sound differences and changes. But I mean, clearly you must be a progressive fan, and you understand.
I am. Well, and
people change.
Exactly. And like I've never understood, because I grew up kind of like Yes was like the first band that I got into. Yeah. And I've always considered Dream Theater really a modern day Yes, and I'll explain what I mean by that. Their evolution is similar in the way that Yes started with, they were kind of a pop oriented thing, where Dream Theaters, they were kind of had that success in that end of that hair metal thing. And then they went they had a way longer career than I think anybody would have expected them to, number one. But also Yes is a band that had, Bill Bruford, who was a legend at the time. And then he's just like, yeah, he's like, I'm out of here. And then Alan White comes in, and people were like, who's this guy? And he shouldn't be here, blah, 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 blah. And then he ended up putting down some of the greatest drum parts that came out of that era of progressive music. And it's the same thing with Dream Theater, and there's always going to be, when you have a band that has you guys cross so many genres, you're going to have fans that like one thing and then fans that like another. And we touched on this on Saturday. Like, you don't have to be about everything. There's things that I don't always listen to, but it's great when a record like Distance Over Time comes out and it's like, oh, hey guys, we still are Dream Theater. We're still the standard of, instrumental progressive breakdowns in the middle of a song. Like, you guys are still at the top of the mountain as far as I'm concerned for that genre. And I just want to say, and you don't have to comment on this, so everybody knows, we were there all day. Okay, we hung out in the afternoon. We were there after the show. We met awesome people on your crew. Zach, your production assistant, awesome dude.
Zach,
like. We hung with Jordan. We talked to John. We talked to James. Everybody's getting along. Everybody is cool. Everybody is welcoming, and there's a coolness in the air that you can feel there.
Yeah.
And I don't know what it was like before. All I can say is that from what I gather and what I've experienced, like, it seems like you guys are really, it's as advertised. Everybody's happy, everybody's having a good time, and you're all really trying to make a great product for the fans, which is great.
Yeah, we that's exactly what's happening. It's glad you experienced it and are saying it just the way you experienced it, because that's what people experience when they are around us. Is that's what we emanate. And again, I mean, I'm very, very fortunate to have joined a band with people that are, every single person. It's like, do you need some help with that bag? Are you okay? Are you feeling well? What do you need? We hang out together at night. We sit and we talk about the show. We talk about everything. It's just the way it is. I mean, I think it's because there's a common seed, and there's a common, what can I call it? I'm just going to say there's a common respect. Respect is a very important thing. I mean, it just really is a very important thing, and we have that for a lot of things. We have it for the fans. We have it for ourselves. We have it for the gifts we've been given. We just have like respect all over the place, and I think that's a core thing that you can see in a team. Very important. I'm just glad you noticed that. Also, the bottom line is we have a common goal. We just want to keep improving. We just want to keep, trying to play every show as good as we can. We want to sound as good as we can. We want to do the best that we can, and that's what we do. And nobody's perfect. I don't think any band has gotten it right all the time. I don't like every record every band's put out. I like some more than others. I think that is the case with Dream Theater. I don't like every band member change. And that every band has had. I think that's okay for people. I think all of this is normal and common sense that's going on, and the whole time, we're trying to get to another AFC championship. That's all. We just want to play in that game. That's all we're trying to do.
And I think it's safe to say, I mean, I have not missed a Dream Theater show since 2006. I've seen at least one shot of every tour since. Wow. And then for like the last 10 years, being friends with John, I've been backstage a lot, and I've seen a lot of stuff, and I've seen a lot of comings and goings, and I guess maybe 9 years. Either way, the show was sold out.
2006? You said you've been seeing since 2006?
Yeah. The first time I saw them was in 2006.
Okay, so that's all right.
That was way back.
Yeah.
First time I saw them was opening for Yes at the Allentown Fairgrounds. Yeah, that was quite a show.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, because I saw the band on the 6 Degrees tour, and on the Zappa, when they played the Zappa to Zappa on that tour, they were just great. I mean, they were just great. So I got to experience it too. I mean, I can't believe I'm in the band now. Anyway,
I want to say something about that, because when I'm watching all these videos of you, and every time you say like, "Hi, I'm Mike Mangini from the band Dream Theater," you have a a glimmer in your eye, and I mean that in the best way possible. Like you truly seem to be so happy to be here, and like it makes Daryl and I were talking about this like at length, like how you were just like brimming with the exact thing that we want to talk about, which is that positivity and that energy for what you do. And what is it like for you to be in Dream Theater after all those years and after like appreciating the band the way you did?
It is what can I say? Well, firstly, I'm grateful. You know, every morning, every night I go to bed, I pray. I absolutely say thank you for a lot of things, as well as a bunch of I'm sorry for these things. I run it. I try to keep the slate clean. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So number one, I'm grateful. I also feel as though this is a part of my life that's like a part of their life too, in that we're going in a certain direction together. Distance over time, you know, is a different direction than the other records that I was a part of. It was different than the other records I was not a part of. And through it, you have a bunch of people that are genuinely, okay, so what are we going to do now? Blah, 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 blah. Well, the only people, I guess, going in the past is anybody like trying to bring us, you know, further back, like, why did you do this and why'd you do that? But we're thinking about how we're going to warm up tomorrow. Right. So we have this positive thing. Is just like we're just concerned about tomorrow now because we're moving on to Cincinnati, as Belichick says, right?
Yep.
And so that's what it's about. So it's about being positive. It's about doing that because what's the other choice? I mean, just think about this for a minute, from a football perspective, from any perspective whatsoever. How can it be helpful, Daryl, if you are lining up in your mind, rather than being consumed with the way your hand feels on the ground or the condition of the field, the assessment of your opponent, the recognition, how can it help you if you're going to think about what somebody said to you 3 days before, or something happened in traffic, or something wasn't happening with the team, or another teammate, there was a weird thing, or a bunch of fans didn't like your sneakers or cleats? Like, how's that going to help you?
It's not going to help you at all. I mean, honestly, we have a saying, and Anthony Weaver, I'm gonna bring back a name here from Notre Dame. He used to be my mentor when I was at Notre Dame. Probably one of the greatest technicians I've ever been around. Had the opportunity to play with at Notre Dame. He was defensive end. He went second round to the Baltimore Ravens. Unbelievable technician. Has been playing football since he was like, I don't know, 5 or 6 years old. And he used to always tell me, because I used to be more mental in college about plays because I was a perfectionist. But I didn't know and I didn't understand the process that takes place, each play that has to be dumped as soon as that play is over so you can stay progressive. Whether it's positive, whether it's negative, there's another play that you have to be prepared for. So T. Weaver would look over me and he would say, hey, let that thing go. Young blood, let it go, man. Like, you can't worry about it, whether you got a tackle for loss or a sack. There's another play. There's a new down. You know what I mean? So
yes. So let me ask you this. This is about help from teammates. Now, Justin, my drumming has been questioned, in many different ways. Great. Super, like a dramatic turn of events. Oh, Petrucci programmed the drums. That couldn't have been me. Let me tell you something. How could I have gotten through that experience without the help of John, by letting me know what he thought what was Dream Theater-esque or not, or letting me just play what I wanted to play so he could put 2 cents in and sometimes say, just, if that's what you want, do it. Or other times, well, I don't know, because I think the way we do things, the vocal's going to go here and blah, blah, blah. So that's one instance I got help from a teammate. You know what I mean? And like with what I'm going to play, but no one told me ever to, he didn't program my drums. You will play this on the record. I mean, come on. He would never do that as a human being. He's a great, great person and a great help. James Labria's had a lot to do with when he's in. I might play different fills, and he'll go, "Oh, no, try that," or "Did you do this?" or blah, blah, blah. Or Jordan might tell me, "Hey, man, I'm catching this thing. Like, check this out." Or John Myung might say, well, I'm feeling real aggressive like this and blah, 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 blah. So I get help from my teammates, and I change. Like, well, okay, let me try this. Was this what you're feeling? And it's nice to have that. Daryl, when has a teammate helped you through something? Maybe something like an initial shock or whatever.
All the time. I mean, not just on the field. Here at NFL Films, I'm surrounded by, I always say that NFL Films is like a beehive, and everybody here is making honey together. Like, that's what we're doing. From pre-production to post-production, there is not one person in this building that does not see your work or touch your work so that it comes to fruition. And it's the very best in the industry for sports, documentaries. So I've been helped. My next door neighbor is probably one of the best producers in the world with respect to documentaries, with respect to exos. Terrell Riley is my other neighbor. He left NFL Films as a seasonal, went to NASCAR, took the NFL Films brand to NASCAR, got a crap ton of Emmys, comes back and is even more knowledgeable and has a skill set that's more robust to help him be even better. And he shares that knowledge with me, which makes me a better teammate. So the one thing I do want to say and get this out here, because Mike and I don't look, Dream Theater this past weekend, this was my first concert ever, like in life, like in general, like in life. Justin, you bringing me into your world, it was awesome. And because I get a chance to meet you. Now, the most, I should say, the thing I took away from this entire experience is the type, and we've talked about this, you've mentioned it, the type of drummer that Dream Theater is inheriting, right? Let's just get to the meat of the matter, right? Mike Mangini. And I'm going to say this is just my personal opinion. Whoever out there, you can keep it or leave it, whatever. Mike Mangini is one of my favorite people in the world. And here's the reason why. Because Mike Mangini cares not only about exercising his craft, cares not only about being the best possible teammate for Dream Theater, for the fans, not only being the best possible human being that he can possibly be for his family, for his fans, for everybody who was there on Saturday to witness. I was upstairs in the balcony, and I told you this, Mike, I almost got emotional because it made me feel like, honestly, my first game ever playing in Chicago, where I literally blown my mind. I didn't know any plays. I look back at Brian Urlacher and I say, "Yo, B-Lack, I don't know what to do." And B-Lack says, "Don't worry, big dog. I'm going to make you right." That confidence that I got from him, that light that he shared with me, who's a Hall of Famer, Mike Mangini has that for Dream Theater. So for everybody who wants to know the type of drummer you're getting a great man. You're getting even the best drummer in the world. That's just my opinion. He's the best drummer in the world, and he's an unbelievable human being. Unbelievable. Family man, father, drummer, teammate, all of it. That's just the bottom line. So I'm sorry, I got to get that out because it's palpable, Mike. Who you are as a person, who you are as a human being, it's just unbelievable. And I feel like people need to know this because that's who you are. That's who you are. You keep continue being who you are. And I'm telling you, man, this new path that you're on with Dream Theater, dude, you guys are going to break the freaking ceiling loose. It's going to be unbelievable. I can't wait to just listen to it and be a part of it.
Thanks. We're trying. That's just amazing. First of all, I'm like, what do I say now? Wow. Especially you mentioning like Urlacher too, like who who I look up to. I know play. I know that. Well, what he did for you. I mean, like John did that for me in the first the first album, and each of the band members has done that for me whenever something has occurred, because there's a lot going on the field and off the field. And again, it's just, I'm so lucky, and that's why I'm thankful every day for these certain gifts, because first of all, I'm with a group of people that we all like to practice. We all like to keep things moving forward all the time. We like to keep things positive. We're always trying to grow. We're doing the best that we can, and we are not perfect on or off the field, right? I mean, I don't know who is. So, but wow, that's incredible. Thank you, because yeah, I guess you can sense it. And that's interesting from a drumming perspective. A lot of times when I'm laying back, I am laying out of the way for my bandmates. I am getting out of the way. I have asked to not be lit many times. I've literally asked, just a solo going on, and I want to try to support that and let my teammates just be the best they can, because they are. So they're allowing me the same thing. It's just great. Thank you so much for saying that. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, Daryl, really, you nailed everything we talked about, and thank you for saying that the way that you did. That was, wow. It's the truth, and we were, man. And we were up there, man, and we're looking at it, I mean, like I said, that place was buzzing, the ground was shaking, you could feel it in the air, and I, like I said, I have been to everything. I was at SCORE in Radio City Music Hall, I saw that, I saw everything, and this right now, what you guys are doing, I think is a true high point, and I can see it. It's only, you guys got a whole new tank of gas, and it's only gonna go up from here. I can really.
Wow, thank you. With Distance Over Time, our basic premise is, we just hope people like it, and with the tour, we're going to do the best we can. We hope people like it. That's where we aim. We just hope that it's liked, and people that are there are liking it a lot. And now the shows are largely all sold out, or mostly, or doing close to it. And it's
yeah. I looked online to see what the tickets were like, and they're pretty much sold out everywhere.
Yeah, so it's going over well. We're very happy that people like it. That's it. We're just keeping it simple.
Yep. Well, and that eventually, those people, if their minds aren't chained after this interview and going out and seeing you and hearing this record, they will eventually. And until then, I know that you're going to be just as positive as ever. So I think this is a good point to take some fan questions. So I went on the Dream Theater subreddit, and a lot of the Dream Theater fans are musicians, it seems like, or people that are very much, that very much appreciate, respect music. So you have a lot of people that ask a lot of really thoughtful questions and a lot of detailed musical questions. So we'll just go through them all. And I like to include their usernames because they're often quite colorful, as you'll see. So I'll just kick it off right here. This one just made me laugh. I had to use this guy. Yak Mehoff wants to know, who is your favorite drummer of all time?
I'm going to answer without answering, because I don't have one, and the reason why is, read my books. I mean, you know my books, Justin. Yep. I'm trying to take a piece. I'm trying to take a piece of everybody. Because there isn't one person that does the whole grid the best. Meaning, okay, I can't answer his question because I want to borrow and use Terry Bozzio's creativity in many different ways. I want to use Neil Peart's approach to progressive music. I am now using Mike Portnoy's influence by learning all the songs and stuff. Hello, am I allowed to say that, or is that?
I think you might have just broken the internet right there.
Am I allowed to? I mean, so it's like, I'm using Virgil Donati's influence with his power and precision, and it's just such always a wonderful friend too. Same with Marco Miniman. We've talked, the three of us, Virgil, Marco, and I. We've talked for like 15 years. Helping each other, like discover things. in this little, circle. We call ourselves three amigos in one picture.
Oh, yeah.
These are my friends. It's like, and because we respect what each other's doing, we know each other's doing different things. John Bonham, how can I not say Bill Bruford? How can I not say Dennis Chambers? Oh my gosh. The list is, I just shouldn't have started naming names, because now I have to name 200 names.
Right.
Because
I know the feeling.
Look at everyone's got a different physical move. Everyone has a place and a sound. You know what I mean? I've been a replacement guy for the most part my whole career. I can't replace anybody, but I can mimic and just pick up from people and then do the best that I can. But I'm also, it's funny because I had a bunch of posters on my wall as a kid. I have either been in those bands or I'm friends with those people. They've all come into my life like some kind of strange thing, So there isn't one drummer that's the best. And how could there be? Because who's going to hammer those inverted double strokes like Virgil? Okay, who is going to do a spastic ink like Bobby Jarzenbeck?
Oh, I'm so glad you brought him up.
I'm telling you, I could bring up everybody.
Everybody keeps talking about we'll get to it, the high cymbal thing. And I'm like, have you never seen Bobby Jarzenbeck? And I'm like, he's like one of my, I just love that guy. And so like, I was always like, man, at least he's not hitting him from behind. Like if he starts doing that, then maybe.
No, Bobby will text me, go, dude.
I love Bobby. He's a huge influence for me. I'm so glad you brought him up.
Yeah, there's just too many people. And how about this? This is great. How about that? I have been influenced by students, by so many students and that's why I love teaching so much, because I would see somebody do something and go, how can you just do that with your feet? I can't do that. Where'd that come from? Or they would play something in just a different way, and I pick it up, go, where'd that come from? They're like, I don't know. That's what I do. This is somebody nobody knows. So, but it's the truth. I'm always looking because the variables are so many. It's like the periodic table, in chemistry. And then there's so many elements, and yet there's so many different combinations and particles within them. I'm looking to all of that stuff to be as good as I can be.
Nice.
Yitse Jax wants to know, are you developing any new signature gear like pedals or sticks or anything along those lines?
I just threw out some videos today. Pearl, we have developed the gong floor tom, or the floor gong drum, depending on how we're going to word it. This is. Could you feel that live when I hit?
Oh yeah.
I mean, those are made to shake your bottom parts. Okay. And I hope they got shaken, because
they did.
That's what those are made for. And they only have. How about this? To get real specific. They only have one drum head. They're like a concert tom, but because floor toms can tend to go brow, but these things only have one head, and they just zoom. Also, my pedal is modified by my tech, Eric. It's a center modified pedal, so you can take the Demon drives. You can just get a lefty and a righty and just put them together and put the bass drum in the center. So there's a couple of things.
I'm a big direct drive fan. I was a long-time Tama Speed Cobra user. And then somebody hooked me up with some trick pedals, and I couldn't go back. So hooked on the direct drive. I'm definitely a big fan of that.
Daryl, we know you don't have this version of this, but it might be some kind of cleat that you prefer. I mean, I don't know.
Well, just to explain it to a non-drummer. So what we're talking about is on a direct drive pedal. On a bass drum pedal, typically you have what's similar to like a bike chain, or traditionally like a strap, like a nylon strap. And that is what transfers the motion when you're pressing down on the pedal to transfer the motion of the beater to hit the kick drum head. So the direct drive is like a piece of metal that's angled at a certain way, so that really what happens is there's a bit of give because of the chain. The direct drive removes that, so it's like a on-off kind of thing. So you have to. It's a big adjustment at first for some people. It took me a little bit to adjust to it, but once you adjust to it, it's like your feet are attached to the beaters, and you're like, it's hard to explain, but it's really amazing.
So does it like help you become more responsive, I guess? Is that the?
Yeah,
the end
yeah.
all?
I mean, kind of, because you don't you have a direct connection
Oh,
to
there
the
you go.
sound. I mean,
Right.
and it depends on the move, though. It depends on the move. Um, uh, Justin and I, with your playing that I saw, your playing is spot on time that I could pick up, unless you edited everything and
No,
faked, you know.
and let me tell you, just since we're talking about it, so that playthrough, so both those videos I sent you, I sent Mike a video
Yeah,
of me doing
yeah,
a playthrough, but I
yeah,
just want
yeah.
to explain it so you know why it's like that. So I recorded the record to a click, and then Jamie quantized it. So when I did the playthrough, I wanted to do a one shot, one take playthrough of the entire song. So I actually was playing that to a quantized click tracked version of the record. So I had to literally be split down the middle. That was that was one of the more difficult recording endeavors I've had. So to hear from the master, that is the ultimate compliment you just gave me. So thank you, sir.
Well, you're welcome. If there was more lag in the pedal, that could throw you off by a few milliseconds, Daryl. And some of them that aren't linked like that do have a little bit of an extra lag to them. But in some ways, and for some music, and for some drummers, a heavier lag feel works to get a nice behind the beat groove. Yeah, I mean, if you're not trying to play a more pattern or how can I say?
It's for specific types of drumming. For sure.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, because there are many drummers that look, put it this way: if you cannot replace a Charlie Watts in the Rolling Stones with anybody that wants to kind of make the parts more slick or more or with a lot of quick moves and things like that. It's just not. That's not what the Rolling Stones is about. The Rolling Stones is about that drum beat just driving the song through. It's the same thing. Even if you listen to some R&B, even if it's programmed or something, it's placed in a certain place. And some pedals that have a chain drive or some other kinds of pedals have just a tiniest little bit of lag that feels so good in different environments. So anyway.
To relate it to football, what it could be similar to, Daryl. Remember we talked about in our combine episode, throwing motions, right? So the what do you call it? The U shape, right?
Yeah. You got a C cup thrower and a U cup thrower. Yep.
Right. So it's like it's a similar kind of concept of what we're talking about here.
Even I'm thinking just real quick. I'm thinking it's even more like after listening to Mike, it's. If in a 4-3 alignment as a defensive tackle, like I have to key off the football, so I have to be first. So I need to key and be like right on time, as opposed to like in a 3-4. If I'm a defensive lineman, then I'm reading the guard so I can take my fit to keep him off of linebacker. So I have to take that hesitation, that sweet spot lag later it actually helps me instead of actually being in that gap first, where I can have one guy come off me and then get to somebody like Brian Urlacher or Ray Lewis, and then that would not be good.
And
that would not.
If I may speak for Mike, in this kind of drumming that he does, you're talking about milliseconds within a 10-minute piece of music. Okay, so like it does really matter like how your foot response is on that millisecond when you're trying to fit in, say 20.4 beats per minute, or per second, rather, that Mike did there at one point.
It comes in handy then. And another thing for the musicianship, because this can sound like technical talk and it's all technical drumming and blah 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 blah. Everything's technical. There's a technical aspect to everything in the universe, so everything's technical. So anyway, we're talking about like keyboard sounds now. They're so crystal clear, exact, responsive, and they have a lot of attack. So if my sound has an attack, and the keyboard sound has an attack, and it's not lined up, it's going to what we call flam, and it's going to sound messy. And in some ways, you go to see a more loose band or groovy kind of situation, that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that at all. But for us, it's not intended. So we need to have that that precision because it's our intention, not because it's right or wrong, but because we intend it. That makes it right. So, any more questions, Justin?
Yeah, I got a few more here. Sonic Karma wants to know what Dream Theater song that you haven't played live yet are you looking most forward to playing in the future?
I don't have one. I do know that what I was looking for this tour, I think I asked for "Walk Beside You."
I love that song.
Everyman. I mean, it's
That's my
people wouldn't
favorite.
expect me to, say that. I don't know. I'm just answering the question. That's all. I mean, it's because if you're looking for like some monster technical thing, I mean, first of all, just to play through scenes from a memory, and choose what to play off the record or not, and when to do it, and that's important because I reviewed Mike's live DVDs and things, and he never played it the same way twice. I don't know why. I'm supposed to play it exactly like the record or not. I mean, I have no idea what's going on with anyone's perspective on this. Like, why can't I do some of these things? Like, you know what I mean? What did I ever do? But anyway, I looked at he played. I liked it. I enjoyed it. I'm like, oh, that's cool. Oh, I like that. Like you can hear in scenes that I might have chosen something he did off of the scenes from New York DVD that he didn't do on the record because I enjoy it. I like it. And there might be something that I changed because I want to play something different because I enjoy it and I like it and I can. I'm the one in the band. The band likes it. It's all good. But memorizing that whole thing as a song, maybe that's it. Maybe that's the answers. I'm glad we're playing that whole thing. Because it says it's like it's one giant song. How about that? And it's an important part. It's an important part of the band's career, and it's just going to be. Yeah, you know what? Why don't I go with that? Because it says a lot. It says a lot about I'm on to Cincinnati. I'm on to the next game. I mean, what am I supposed to do?
Yeah, on to Nashville.
I
hear you.
I can't sound like anybody else. I never heard drummers I looked to like Stuart Copeland or Neil Peart or anybody or Alex Van Halen, who I hugely look up to. I heard them play their own songs differently in different tempos, different thing, this, that, the other thing, different fills. I don't know, but I mean, it's just different for me because it's just the job. So I have to tote this line between what do I play, what do I not play. How do I sound? How do I not sound? What do I just feel like doing, and what do I don't feel like doing? What about my bandmates? There are certain cues and things they need. What about all that? So let's say scenes from a memory from top to bottom. So no, there isn't anything right now. I'm doing it.
One thing I just want to tack on there.
I'm playing Cincinnati right now.
Just some of the one of the comments I just wanted to address that I saw a lot of the fans, and you don't have to chime in on this if you don't want to. Just my opinion here is for anybody has complained about the quote unquote feel that Mike Mangini has or does not have allegedly. The Spirit Carries On is like the most feel you can get, I think, in the Dream Theater catalog. And you had myself, I was in tears, grown men all around me in tears. That doesn't happen if there's no feel. So just if you're on this tour, if you're going out and seeing this tour, enjoy The Spirit Carries On and
thank you.
And then leave a comment below in the YouTube and let us know what you think.
Then I'm going to have to give credit to Jeff Porcaro, because that's when I turned my hand over. Listen, God, a little bit of Rosanna shuffling there. And I can't sound like anybody else. I cannot do that. It's like someone, 5 guitarists playing the same guitar are going to sound differently. It's just the way it is. But thank you for saying that. And that was my influence, was a little bit of Porcaro, because I'm swinging it. But then I realized, I looked out into the crowd. Maybe it's the third show or something, and I saw a lot of people like doing this, like following the hi-hat part that like Mike played a little more straight in there. So what I did is I played the first couple of verses a little more Jeff and swingy, and I put a couple of Bonham.
Yeah.
I throw a couple of those things in there,
yep.
But then I go back to more of the straight things. So I play the song, honor the song how it was played, which I like. That this is one of those tough calls.
Yeah.
How far do I go? Where do I not go? Do I care whether or not someone in the crowd likes the play that scored the touchdown or the play that got the penalty. What am I supposed to do, you know?
Hey, Justin.
Anyway,
yes,
more
sir,
questions.
Campbell.
We
More
were
questions.
talking about this with Tajay Sharp. Remember, where I was talking about
Yep.
the three eyes to self-discovery. So you have imitation, you have integration, and you have innovation. And Mike is innovating like nobody's business, but paying homage to all of those greats before him, with him in that same space, to just becoming something totally unique. I think that's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I have to be. Thank you. It's the truth. I mean, most drummers feel this way. I think that's why the drum community has magazines. We have clinics. We have forums. We talk to each other. I think for the most part, most drummers like each other an awful lot.
Well, we try to. There's also a lot of competitive nature out there too.
But that's good though. We like
Yeah.
it. Like I told you,
Right.
I cannot. You can't imagine how many hangs, phone calls, and discussions I've had just with Virgil Donati and Marco Miniman. Just with those. Never mind with all the talks with Dennis Chambers and all the clinics. Never mind all the talks. I've done 30-something clinics with Horacio Hernandez and all the drummers we've had clinics with, and all of the things we learn from each other. I mean, Daryl, it's like, why wouldn't you want to look up who played your position and try to learn something? Why wouldn't you do that? And
Right.
wouldn't you say, hey, thank you? Or you met them one day, you'd say, hey, thanks for that, because I'm not fully me without you. That's what I've always answered about Neil Peart. Like I had to do an article on him once, and half the thing I wrote was thank you, because I couldn't fully be me, because like he was such an influence on a very important time in my life. So why wouldn't you say thank you or look to other people? And yeah, the drum community is fantastic.
If
So
you
yeah,
want to be,
those
if you
three
want to be,
eyes.
if you want to be a great player, you watch great players. That's just kind of how I've always learned. You watch the Warren Sapps, you watch the Bruce Smiths, you watch the John Randalls. You know what I mean? You watch the Aaron Donalds. That's this year. That's this
Right.
generation's next great interior lineman. So that's awesome. Yeah.
I've
More
got
questions.
I've got two more Dream Theater questions here for
Okay.
you, and then I think we'll call it a wraps for part one of this fantastic odyssey here with Mike Mangini on the Everyman Podcast. This one actually comes from my wonderful girlfriend Samantha. She is a big fan of Distance Over Time, and you guys spoke briefly on FaceTime the other night. And she wanted to know, how do you deal with the wear and tear of touring and drumming? And how do you, I think this question's really so she can help me. But how do you deal with that wear and tear of touring and drumming? And what kind of little secrets and tricks have you learned along the way that have helped keep you going and keep you healthy?
The most important thing I've learned is that sleep is number one, because it gives my body a chance to recover. That is the most important thing. That's because I'm hitting it as hard as we all in the band are hitting it and giving every single night. So rest is number one. Nutrition's important. We have to be very careful about the amount that we eat, what we eat, about the amount that we drink, what we do or do not drink, include water. And John Mayung and I love to have a glass of red wine after the show. And then, or I might sit down and with any of the guys. James on tour doesn't mess with, he drinks water. He does not drink alcohol and smoke cigars, anything like that. Nothing. He does not mess with it. So it's probably about avoiding than anything, more than anything. With the wear and tear though, I know that stretching would help me. I've started doing it a little bit more. This is a habit thing. It's not part of my routine. It's not part of my habit. And I make excuses not to do it. It's like weight training. Daryl, you might not want to walk into the weight room after you are dead tired playing a football game, and maybe it's going to be a little difficult getting up the next day too. Or should you ice your knee? Or, what should you do? So the main thing here is recovery. Wear and tear, I'll eventually get into push-ups again and some things like that, and some exercises, because a lot of injuries have healed, but it's pretty much avoiding things. And by the way, it just so it's known, like we're following up here because we had some trouble on our on our first podcast or first attempt or whatever. So we spoke a little bit. That's how I got a chance to say hello, and that's why all that occurred. Like, well, what are we going to do? And all right, well, I'll be available here. And anyway, here we are.
Yep.
Another question.
Yes, sir. Do you have a favorite? This is from Thupa. What's your favorite Dream Theater part or section to play live, if you have one?
Hold on. One did hit me. Let me think. Hold on a minute. I can't believe I'm forgetting this. There's something Portnoy did. Oh my gosh, why can't I remember? I'm sorry. But I know those though, because I remember last tour. I can't believe this. I don't remember exactly what it was. I remember playing something going, that's just like the most brilliant, perfect thing ever. I don't remember. I don't remember what that was. That stinks because I can't answer the question completely 100%. What was it? It was something through images and words. I don't remember what it was.
Well, if it comes to you, we'll bring it back. We'll bring it back around.
I mean, for now, if I'm splitting between something old and something new, let's say I like the way I like the way he does it in a few different songs where he uses the trash stack on the beat and then he lets it go off the beat in the second half. And then he doesn't want to do that too much, so then he just starts it off the beat in the third portion. He's done this a couple of times.
Isn't that in Dance of Eternity?
Yeah. It's in Beyond This Life, and it's in oh my God, Dance of Eternity. No, not the way I'm talking about, because it's like at Beyond This Life. It starts on the beat, and then it goes naturally off the beat in the second half of the measure. But then, like the third round, he'll start the thing off the beat. So like it was something like that he did in an older tune. I don't remember. Anyway, my favorite thing I'm doing that I constructed or came up with is the middle of Pale Blue Dot, because it's actually it's in one quarter note the whole song. It just veers off into dotted notes and triplet notes against this quarter note, even though it's an odd amount of these triplet notes. It all comes back to the same exact quarter note. And then we go into triplets that are really phrased in fives, and all of that is something for me that I can manage and keep in time. But it's more about the part itself. All right, how about this? Let me get even more specific. My favorite, when you see me smile and giggle, you'll know that that's like a favorite kind of thing.
Yep.
It's in Pale Blue Dot when I'm in. Well, again, these are triplets, but it looks like it could be quintuplets or fives. When I'm up on the octos, which look like what was I told? Hamster tubes. Okay. Anyway, so I'm up on those things following Jordan, because when he plays, it's so visual what he does. He's like a cinema guy. He could make you visualize a mountain with a cloud in a certain place or something. He's like so out of control how he can do this. So, I mean, that's just because I'm reaching up high. It's a challenge. It's in that, five thing, but it's really triplets. And those drums sound, I think they're hilarious sounding with the particular key. But I'm sorry, but it's about the humor of it. So there you go. What stinking part, Mike? I mean, there's a lot of them. There are a lot. Otherwise, again, I wouldn't be having so much fun in the band, and if it wasn't as great as it really, really is.
Well, I can definitely say that from watching you Saturday night, you definitely love what you're doing. You love who you're playing with. And I think the love is mutual from the fans and from that crowd on Philly on Saturday night. That's all I can say about that. So, Mike, yes, thank you for this first part of this wonderful podcast odyssey, and we'll see you guys next.
Wait a minute, you're welcome. But let me tell you something.
Yes, sir.
Philadelphia, it's a good thing I didn't pull a Bill Burr. Let's just say that. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about that in part 2.
It's a good thing I didn't pull a Bill Burr. It's all friendly. Oh my God, that's funny.